Learning Palmistry by comparison. In this video, we would be talking about the headline. In this video, I would be showing different hands and I would be comparing those hands with each other and just taking up only one particular line. So these are the lines that we would be looking at, and I have got a big almost 15, 20, 30 images out here that we would be comparing. So one by one, I would go from one image to the other image. So this is the line that is called the line of head. People think that the headline is the line of intelligence. I'm just explaining what the headline is. People think that the headline is the line for intelligence, but my take is that the headline is the line of thought process. Thought process does not mean intelligence. Headline is more to do with mental strength, mental weakness. It is the line for mental breakdown and mental inclination. The origination and the termination also matters of the headline, where it originates and where it terminates. So all these things are basically important. So first line that we would be talking about is the headline. And when we are talking about the headline, we also need to talk a little bit, just a small portion of the lifeline as well. So when both these lines are joined together at the initial start, it means that these people are cautious, shy, hardworking, and contemplating. So this is the first thing. Let me just remove these. Just notice that the headline kind of breaks out here and a new line emerges out here. And then there's a island-like formation. And the headline is also sometimes there's a dual kind of a headline also. Then again there's a break, and then again it is ending on the area of Mars positive area. So you would notice that in the initial look, it appears that the headline is a very strong kind of a headline because it's a very long headline, but I would say that it has its own flaws as well. A line can be short and yet it can be a better line compared to if a person has got this kind of a headline. Island-like formation on the line of head, specifically under the finger of Saturn, under the finger of mount of Saturn, is indicative of depression and depressive tendencies. So this is in a way a little bit negative, and it is happening before the age of 35. So this island that you see is before the age of 35. The way we calculate age on the headline is we take the headline out here and the money line intersection, and we say this is age 35. So on the headline, this portion is before the age of 35, this portion is after the age of 35. When there are breaks on the headline, there's a break out here, there's a break also out here, so we would say some kind of a mental breakdown that can take place to a small extent. So a person needs to be a little bit cautious in this regard. Let us move to another headline now out here. Notice in this particular case, the headline, all the lines are broad, but just notice the headline. It is a broad kind of a headline. I'll just show you another headline so that you would understand what a broad headline means and what a deep headline means. Just let me go to another hand image where I find that just notice on this particular headline, this headline appears to be a deep kind of a headline. The line is not broad. A broad headline is considered to be a negative sign. Any broad line on any line, even if it's the heart line or the headline, it means that it loses its qualities. So if the headline is broad, it would mean that the chances of the person having weakness in the mind increases. the person wouldn't be able to make good decisions. So a deep line means there's some depth in the thoughts. When the line is broad, it means that you are spreading yourself too thin. So it's kind of a negative sign to have a broad kind of a line. You lose your mind. There's problem in your head. Something or the other. There would be some problem or the other when you have a broad kind of a headline. Broken headline is also bad. Broad headline is also bad, and the island on the headline is also bad, and waviness on the headline is also bad. So in this case, the line is broad. We move to another headline. You would notice that the headline should be very, very simple. You would notice that the headline is not so simple out here, and it has a island like formation. The headline starts out here, then there's an island like formation out here. Again, it's considered to be negative, and the lines out here are also not so clear. Now, I would add out here that we normally associate the headline only in terms of mental strength, mental weakness, but I try to correlate the headline to your success and failure as well. So just use common sense out here. Notice that the headline has got a island like of formation like out here. So island like formation, and specifically before the age of 35. Let's say for 3, 4, 5 years, there's an island. And when there's an island for 3, 4, 5 years between the age of 30 till the age of 35, and those are important years of your life. So if you have this basically would mean mental isolation and depression and depressive tendencies. So what's going to happen is you're losing your important portion of your life. And if you lose your important portion of your life, you can't compensate that particular time that you have lost. So in that way, it is considered to be an extremely negative sign. If there are some negative signs on your important portion of your life, then it is considered to be negative, because you lose time, you lose money. Now we move to another headline that we have out here. The image quality doesn't appear to be too good, but yet let's basically just compare. When we talk about the headline, we should also look at the heart line, because there should be some comparison. Notice how long the heart line is. So this person is likely to be more emotional nature, and because the headline is a little bit shorter, the chances of the emotions overpowering your thought process increases. It means that the person would always be making an emotional decision, and the person would be extremely emotional, and the person may not be very practical. Although the headline is not drooping too much downwards, that would mean impracticality. The headline is straight, but yet we would say that the person would be more guided by emotions uh, and idealism instead of only your thought process. So the thought process takes a back seat and the emotions take a front seat. And when we are emotional, we can make big mistakes. So in that way, it may be considered to be a negative sign. Now let us take a look at another headline that we have in front of us. Uh, this is another hand image that we saw of the same person. In this case, the headline appears to be a little bit long. This is the left hand, and we had seen the right hand. So there's a balance out here between the head and the heart in comparison to the other hand image that we have seen. But because this hand also has got another heart line, it means still the heart is going to overpower your mind. So if you have one single line of head and two lines of heart, then the heart overtakes and overpowers your mind, and you take those emotional kind of decisions. Let's take another case scenario out here. Now notice how different the lines are out here. The first is that the head and the lifeline are joined together at the initial start for a very long duration of time. So this person becomes extremely emotional, extremely sensitive, extremely sorry, I made a mistake. It means When both these lines are joined together, it means that the person is very cautious, shy, hardworking, and contemplating. So such people basically are more successful towards the later portion of their life instead of the earlier portions. For some people, the later portion is going to be after the age of 35. For the other people, it's going to be after the age of 50, after the age of 44. So this is just a rough estimate. Now notice that the headline kind of ends out here around the age of 35 or so, and another line basically it emerges. So this line is also reasonably good, but this is a abnormal indication out here. It is not seen in almost every person's hand. It's a rare occurrence. Now rare occurrence does not mean that it is considered to be a good sign. I would say that having a simple line is always better than having a complicated line. Now what happens is that the headline is running on one track, that your thought processes are normally only on one track, and suddenly some change happens around the age of 30 and it is on the other track. Now the quality of the new headline is good. That is the reason why we say, in spite of having some issues, some problem or the other, still the person would be able to have a sane mind, a stable mind in spite of these problems. So the instability is going to be there around the age of between the age of 30 to the age of 35. This is the rough estimate, I would say. There are going to be some problems. In comparison to the head, you would notice that the heart line is extremely long. So such people are very idealistic, and these people could have that jealous tendencies as well. Jealousy also could be there, and they would in emotions they would go into extremes. Extremities in the emotions are is depicted in this particular hand. Now let us move on to the other hand image that we have in front of us. Now this hand image I find to be quite a balanced hand, a predictable hand, a predictable nature. So the headline is this and the heartline is something like this. So such a person has got a very balanced kind of a personality. So such people would be able to make very balanced kind of decisions, and these people are easy to understand and easy to correlate with. So people would love to associate with such people instead of unpredictable kind of people. So it's always better to have simple lines instead of complicated lines. Simple lines make it much more easier for other people to understand you. And in business, people want predictability. So such people are highly predictable. Being predictable is a good sign. Do not think that unpredictability is a better sign. Let's take this hand image. We have the left as well as the right hand image. There's a small, just notice, I'm just going to darken the hand image a little bit so that you can see things much more clearly. Little bit. Notice that there's one or two branches from the area of Jupiter that are kind of joining into the main headline. There's a branch from the Jupiter joining into the main headline. So this makes it a little bit a rare occurrence. This line makes it a little bit rare. It means your mind is getting guided by Jupiter. Any line originating from Jupiter joining the headline means your mind is wanting what Jupiter is. And Jupiter is all about administration, religion, politics, honor, power, and position. So such people reach up to a higher position because a good line is there in the earlier portion of your life. Now this line doesn't appear to be very strong on this particular hand, but yet it is there. So that is the reason why we would say it's okay to have such a indication. In the initial start, notice that the quality of the lines are not so good. There's lack of clarity in the lines. When there's an island-like formation out here, so some problem the person would have faced before the age of 17, 18. And some mental issues would have been there in the earlier portion of this particular person's life. Now let us move on to other hand image that we have out here. This hand image, you notice that towards the end, this is the starting portion, and towards the end is a major dip a little bit towards out here. So it makes a person a little bit more imaginative towards the end of their life after the age of, let's say, 60, 70. So there's a sudden dip. Let's move on to some other hand image that we have, significant hand image that we have out here. Now just notice out here, the first thing is that this is the starting portion of your headline. There's an upward moving headline. So this is one headline. There's another headline that is there, something like this. This is another headline, and this is another headline. So these are different headlines that you see out here, which makes it a little bit a majorly I would say it's a very difficult to read hand and difficult to understand hand. If we take a look at the right hand, this hand appears to be much more predictable. The right hand appears to be much more predictable. So that is the reason why we say it's a good hand. In this hand too, you would notice that the head and the lifeline are joined together at the initial start for a very long duration of time. So such people are extremely cautious, shy, hardworking, and contemplating. And these people are likely to be very successful as they progress in their life. Though they may appear to be very slow, but over a period of time, as they grow older, they gain much more speed and they are going to be much more successful. Now, this hand appears to be much more clear cut. The lines are much more distinct and clear. So that is the reason why I would rate this particular hand to be a very good hand. There's a problem line, any horizontal line. This is a horizontal line that goes and touches the headline, means some problems that the person is going to face at this particular portion of the life. I have already mentioned the age, the intersection of the head and the money line. This is the money and this is the headline. This is age 35. So the problem line is touching before the age, before the intersection. So this age is going to be age roughly at the age of 34. There could be some problems. Upward moving branch on the headline means upliftment in the mind. It means something to do with writing. But I've seen not every person who has an upward branch over the headline becomes an author. It could just mean an upliftment, or it could mean a success in one's life. Now, I need to elaborate much further on this particular hand because the hand is absolutely clear. So this particular line, Jupiter line that I was mentioning, this is a beautiful line the person has. So right from start, when the person is young, the person would be at a high position. Now the person could be in first standard, he could be in college or in his work profession, his business, his own business, or in his service. He would always be at a high position in their life. This line is also known as the line for spirituality as well, position, respect, and honor. So such people always get respect and honor in their life. Towards the end on the headline, you notice how clear, deep, and clear the line is. This is also indicative of success, because if your headline is good towards the end, it is indicative of everything happening in your life in a very predictable way, and absolute sanity in your mind. You're absolutely clear as to what you want in your life, even in the last portion of your life. So you would notice towards the end of your life, what happens is that old man goes insane, but this particular person would remain absolutely clear even in the last days of his life. Now, this hand has got many other good aspects also. This is a very strong Mars line. I'm just indicating out here. I won't be saying anything much, but this is the line for protection and a beautiful Mercury line. So all these indications in his hand are indicating success. Now, when we look at the left hand, now the left hand is a little bit different kind of a hand, and such people would be difficult to understand. But in male members, we give more importance to the right hand instead of the left hand, but we do not ignore the left hand as well. So upward moving branch on the headline in the earlier portion means success in your studies, in your education, in the earlier portion of your life also, and something to do with writing. Uh, a branch, a line that originates on the area of Mars negative, something like this, brings in more anger and aggression. Then This is another headline. So headline is moving on different planes. So the person is having multiple personalities at the same time. And this last line, that is kind of pointing towards the area of Jupiter. This is the line that we are referring to. Just notice, normally the headline would start at the edge out here. But this particular line is pointing purely and purely towards Jupiter. And when the headline points towards the mount of Jupiter, it is considered to be a good sign because it takes a person to a higher position in their life. So in that way, it is considered to be a very good sign to have. Let's take another hand image that we have in front of us. I'm just going to rotate the image a little bit so that you understand it much better. Notice out here, there's a problem line somewhere at the age of 35. Pointing from the area of Mars negative and crossing over. So this portion of the life, the person is going to face few mental issues and financial issues when the line is being cut. But as such, the quality of the headline is reasonably good, okay, okay kind. So there's mental strength in the line in spite of this break as well. There's a cut also out here towards the end of the life around the age of, let's say, 65 or so. Some problems may crop up even at that particular portion, but because the main line is good, main headline is good, so that is a reason why we would say that things are likely to be good in this particular person's life. Let's take the left hand of the same person. The quality of the headline out here is good, deep and clear. So when the headline is deep and clear, we say a very predictable nature, and the head and the lifeline are barely touching each other. It means that such a person is just in time for everything. So in that way, it is considered to be a good sign. When there's a major gap, we normally say the person is very rash, outgoing, and never missing out on opportunities. This is a hand of another person. Let me just rotate the image first and then show it to you. The headline, you would notice, now there's some uniqueness in this hand as well, the headline. Now the headline is very straight, so the person is very practical. This is the first thing. There's a big gap between the head and the lifeline. This is the lifeline, so there's a very big gap. So such people are very outgoing and never missing out on opportunities, and these people act first and then basically they think. So this is one way. Then there's a problem line that cuts the head and the money line at the age of 35. So some problems before the age of 35. So this portion of the headline is before the age of 35. Just notice few lines originate from Jupiter, join in. So these are minor lines. So even these are considered to be good. But notice that these lines are small lines that are kind of pointing towards the area of Mount of Moon. Now Mount of Moon is a changeable planet. It changes its phases on a daily basis. So it is the line of mental disappointments. If the whole headline droops downward, I wouldn't say it to be very bad, but some people would say that it is indicative of a person who goes mad. But I would say that if the whole headline, there might be, I would be having another sample image, but I'm just showing you, I'm drawing over the hand image. If the whole headline droops downward, I would say it has more to do with artistry. So in that way, it is good. But having small branches lean downwards in the earlier portion of your life when you need to be practical, and these branches are moving downwards, it means to mental disappointments in your life. Now these mental disappointments are likely to be either in your professional life or in your love life, professional or your love life, because these are the two important things that are going to be there playing out in your life. So in that way, these considered to be good, are considered to be negative lines. Now one or two lines kind of join something like this. Also, any line joining from the area of Mars negative joining into the main headline is also considered to be negative. It means anger entering your mind. So when anger enters your mind, the chances of taking the right decisions decrease. So these are a kind of a little bit negative kind of lines. Towards the end, the quality of the headline becomes super excellent after the age of 35. So I would certainly say that after the age of 35, things are likely to be much, much better in his life. And there's no major issues that are going to crop up after the age of 35. Very stable, very good headline after the age of 35. So even the headline can tell almost anything regarding you. Even your success can be measured by your headline. Let us take this headline that is there in this particular hand. Now, you'd notice I'm taking a look at the left as well as the right hand. So both hands are important. So we should consider both the hands. So the headline in the initial phase is not so good. There's an island-like formation before the age of 35. After the age of 35, things become good, and maybe a little bit towards the end, there's a slight upward curve. Upward curve on the headline is considered to be good. It means upliftment of the mind. And when do you have upliftment of the mind? When there is success. So problems before the age of 35, these could be relationship issues, and or these could be work related issues that are going to affect this particular person. So in that way, it is considered to be negative to have such indications. Let's move on to another hand image that we have out here. So this is the hand image that we have out here, and notice the headline is not very long in this particular hand. It is only till this, so it's all okay to have a reasonably short headline. So there's nothing bad about it. It's considered to be good. The only bad part is that there's an island like formation out here. A good, very good Jupiter line is there, so position and power and respect and honor is going to be there. Then the head and the lifeline are joined together at the initial start. So the person may appear to be very slow, may appear to have lose lots of opportunities, but as they grow older, things are likely to be much, much better. And there's island-like formation in the earlier portion. So before the age of 18 or so, there could be some problems, mental issues that the person is going to face. Now, mental problems can be something related to family faces some issues, so it affects the person's mind as well. So in this left hand also, there's an island out here. Also, things are not so very, very clear out here. But in the right hand, things are much, much better. See, you don't need to have a very long headline. Only then you're going to be successful. Even a shorter headline can lead to success. And even sometimes a longer headline doesn't mean success. So don't think that headline needs to be very strong. Only then you're going to get everything in your life. Even a short headline can mean very good indications as well. Let us basically move to other hand image that we have out here. So this hand image is also good because it's a very balanced kind of a nature that the person has. Balanced personality people can mingle with everybody. So in that way, it is a beautiful sign. So this is the headline, this is the heart line. So a very predictable kind of a nature that the person is having. Let's move to another hand image that we have out here. So this is the same person's hand. We won't repeat it. This is the same. We won't repeat it. This is perfect. This is the kind of hand I like, and these are very predictable kind of hands. Now, don't think that if you have got simple lines, it is very common. Don't think like that. Even simple line means very, very good success. People assume that you need to have very different lines, and because you have different lines, you're going to be hugely successful. This is a wrong way of giving a reading. Let's move on to other hand images that we have out here. So this is just notice out here the length of the headline is good. So lots of mental strength is there. See, sometimes when you have got good headline, it also brings you out of problems. Notice that the headline, the money line is breaking at the age of 35. So when the headline breaks at the age of 35, the person is going to face problems. But because a person has got a strong headline, clear headline, it means that a person would be able to come out of the problems due to a strong headline. So if your mind is strong, you come out of the problem. If your mind line is weak, then a problem can become really huge. So these things also we need to take into account. Now let's take a look out here. This hand image appears to be a little bit different. Different because in comparison, just notice the length of the headline is in extremes, and in comparison the heartline is short. So such a person may lack in emotions, and the person is going to be extremely headstrong, and such people would all the decisions would be made purely by the head, and the person uh, wouldn't basically take into account any emotions. So this short headline could also be seen as absence of emotions. Now, in comparison, the right hand, you notice it's a balanced kind of a personality. It does have a short headline and there's a break on the headline, heartline as well. So this is the heartline. There's a break as well. But in spite of that, it's all okay. There's a unique line in this hand. I'm just showing this line. While SKB line, this is the line for addiction. Just because it's a very rare kind of occurrence, that is the reason why I just mentioned it. Let's take a look at this particular hand. So now this particular hand is also a little bit rare kind of a hand, similar to what we have just seen. When the line is running from one end to the other, we also say that it could be a Samian line. Now, Samian line makes a personality of that particular person very different from others. Samian line is when the head and the heart line merge into one. Now, you do notice that there is another line of heart. Now, you might say that there is a heart line, but we are not very certain because this it appears that both lines are merged out here. The reason why I am saying these are merged, because just notice these kind of branches out here. So these branches are normally seen towards the starting of the heart line. This is the way normally it is. So that's the reason why I would say that this is a Samian line, a combination of the head and the heart. When a person has a Samian line, it means that your thoughts and the feelings are merging into one. Normally what happens is there should be a gap. Let's say, let's just take an example. This is the head and this is the heart line. So there are two teams, one team of head, the other team of heart. So this middle area is the playing ground of the thoughts and the feelings together out here. This is where the decisions are being made. So these are very balanced kind of decisions because there's a gap in the middle. When there's no gap in the middle, out here, just notice that when both lines are joined together, there's no gap in the middle. It means that the decisions that the person may make in their life are going to be in extremes, and it's going to be very tilted decisions, purely either the head or purely the emotions. So these are not very balanced kind of decisions that such a person is likely to make. Some At some places these people are also required. Don't think that these people have got no use. Every person has got some use or the other. So every person, they have the unique personality, they would be have some use or the other. Let's take a look out here. Just notice that the uh, heart line is a little bit short and it is broken. The heart line is broken out here. So break in the heart line could mean an abrupt ending in a relationship or a partnership. So this is the starting. So this is the later portion of life, around the age of 50 or so, when this kind of a situation is going to arise on the heart line. But we are talking about the headline. Sorry, I started to tell you about the heartline, but we should be only talking about the headline. So this is the headline. It is a little bit short. Now, short headline, people think that if you have got a short headline, it means that the person is a fool. I would say no, it is not so. The intelligence area is the area of Mercury. Having no line on the mount of Mercury can also be considered to be a good sign. It means that the person has the ability to learn everything very, very fast. Short headline should not be seen as a negative sign. I've seen many people who have a short headline and they are very, very successful. Uh, uh, it the reason I would say that if imagine a situation, if a person has got a long headline, it means that the person makes strong mental boundaries around themselves. So let me explain in a different way. So this is a house, and you have got a house, and you make strong big boundary around yourself. Like you make a boundary of 20 feet around your house. What is the use of making 20 feet boundary around your our house? You should make a boundary that is maximum 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet maximum. But making a 20 feet boundary is caging yourself. So same goes if you have a long headline, strong headline, you cage yourself into your own thoughts. A shorter headline means that those issues are not there. And that is the reason why the person can think in different ways. And the person doesn't create strong mental boundaries, and any person can come up to them, and they would basically mingle together and talk to them and bring out problems from their life, or solve their problems as well. A short headline was seen in the hand of a very famous Indian lawyer who is no longer there, and his name was Ram Jethmalani. Even he had a short headline. And even Shah Rukh Khan, the famous Bollywood actor, even he has a short headline. So, short headline should not be seen as a negative sign at all. This hand we have already read, so we are not going to repeat it again and again. This hand we have already read. Summing up, these are duplicate images that we have out here. So these are repeated images. Sorry for the delay. These are similar images that I've already read. So in this case, notice that the head and the heart line is very balanced. So a very balanced kind of a personality, a very predictable kind of a personality. See, when you're associating, when you're trying to find a partner for yourself, simple lines is always good. If you're looking for, let's say, you're looking for a business partner, so if you have simple lines, that is considered to be better instead of having complicated lines. Because if a person has got complicated lines, the other person is not going to understand such a person. So these people are highly predictable people. People love to associate with such people. And notice towards the end of the headline, no, not in this case, towards the beginning of the headline, these branches that are kind of joining. So these are beautiful lines. Not many people would have such indication, and these people rise up to a high position in their life. So it's a positive indication to have. Let me just close the images that we don't require, because unnecessary opening too many images is going to confuse us. And now, yes, this is a very simple kind of a hand, a predictable kind of a hand. I would rate it to be much better. The person is a little bit rash also, outgoing also. So this is one nature that is there. Some small issues may crop up. There's a small line moving from the area, pointing towards the area for Mars negative and joining the headline. So this point of time is going to be a little bit troublesome portion, and this point is going to be around the age of 32 or so. So a problem line is seen on the headline around the age of 32 or so. The money line is also broken out here. Notice out here, so before the age of 35. So, so we would say that some problems are going to arise in this particular person during these particular portion of life. Now, this could be related to his work or his personal life. Both these things can get affected to some extent, because the quality of the hand is very good, the person is not going to get affected. See, even if this person has got major problems in his life, even then the person would be able to handle those major problems very easily and move ahead in their life, in comparison to a person who doesn't have got a good headline. Those people would face much more difficulties, because they would be unable to handle problems, and they would be unable to face the problems in a good way. Now, if we take a look at this particular hand, the initial portion of the headline and the lifeline is negative. So either the health or the mind is affected. In the earlier portion, these are cut lines. These are the lines for oppositions that affect this particular person at least till the age of 35, 36, when these lines are kind of touching the hairline. So these are problem lines that are affecting such person. Now, uh, so, and towards the end, the quality of the headline becomes much better. So a good indication to have. I'm just closing the unnecessary hand images that we have out here. And now towards the end of the headline, you notice that the headline is branching into one or two portions. So branching out of the headline and pointing into two or three different directions is considered to be good. The upward line is pointing towards Mercury. So this area is the area for skill. The line that is straight brings more practicality. And the downward swing line, it brings more imagination, visualization, romance, and artistry. Artistry does not purely mean art and colors. It can be art in any form, any work that you are doing. Those can be seen also as art. And the area for Mercury is good. Just notice these particular perpendicular lines. So very intelligent, and a person who is likely to be successful. These upward branches also joining into the headline. So such a person rises up to a higher position. Every hand does have some flaws as well. Don't think that people don't have flaws. This hand also has got very, very other good indications, a good Mars line, good, very good sun line. So all of these are adding up to success. Don't think that only one line is important. Each and every line is important for your success as well as failure. Or unnecessary and images that I wish to close so that we can concentrate on the other hand images that I have in front of me. Also, give me one more minute. So you may not be liking this because in this hand, notice one more thing, that there's one headline and there appears to be another headline out here. So when there are two headlines, this is not a pure double headline, but I would show you some other hand image where there appears to be two headlines. So two headline doesn't mean confusion. It just means two different personalities within that particular person at the same time. And these images we have already seen. When the headline is branching out into two towards the end, we say the person is likely to be a genius. Now, genius doesn't mean that they know everything, but genius means that they are able to see two sides of the coin at the same time. It is considered, certainly considered to be a positive sign to have when you have these branches over the headline. Even in this particular case, you notice that the headline is branching out into two. So this is considered to be a positive sign to have. People who have this kind of, the chances for their success basically increase. They know their subject very well. But at the same time, you shouldn't have a unstable kind of a headline. An unstable headline doesn't show clarity in the lines. This hand image is not so clear, so I won't be talking too much on this. Now let's take out here. This is good. Uh, Now this hand is also very unique because in the initial at the initial phase we don't know where the headline is. Now there's another headline that appears and it moves in this formation. Now there's a wave-like formation. Wave-like formation makes our thought process very unpredictable. It is something like a wave, sea waves. So what's going to happen is your thoughts are going to waver and it's going to have lots of instability in there. When, let's say, when it originates on the area of Mars, it gets anger and aggression. Then it tilts up, it has a bump, it is pointing towards Saturn, so it gets the qualities of the Saturn, more qualities of the Saturn. Then when it dips downwards, it points towards the amount of moon, it gets the imagination, visualization. Then it curves a little bit upward, so it gets more practicality. So this area is for more practicality. If it was moving a little bit upward, then we say more of technology. So there's a this kind of a person is going to be very difficult to understand, and over a period of time he is going to evolve and going to change, and people who are close to him, they would be unable to understand. Now the good part in the initial phase is that there are few branches that are moving upward, something like this. So probably in the earlier portion of his life, he is going to do lots of good studies, and he's going to be extremely successful as to whatever they are doing. So if we are successful in the earlier portion of your life, it's going to have an impact in the later portion of your life as well. If you get a good head start, automatically it has a good bearing in for your later portion of your life as well. This hand has got few good and bad things. The initial phase is beautiful. So if something happens in the initial phase, it has got a bearing for the later portion as well. So this is a beautiful line which takes a person to a very high position. Before the age of 35, these are multiple lines on the headline that are moving backward or pointing backwards towards the area of Mars negative. So this brings anger and aggression into the mind, and the chances of problems in their marriage increases when lines point towards the area of Mars negative. We can't be very certain, but this could also lead to problems, some fight or the other, in some way or the other. So in that way, it is considered to be a negative sign. After the age of 35, the headline is branching out into two. So this is a positive, and this is a hugely positive. This line is a hugely positive sign in this particular person's hands. When we move to another hand, now notice the length of the heart line is longer compared to the headline. So thus this person is likely to be more emotional compared to the headstrong nature. So the person would take all the emotional decisions, mainly emotional decisions. This hand we have already read. We move to now this hand was a hand of a girl who is on bed, and probably I think she suffered some injuries. Now even see, some of the hands we can't read completely, we have to admit that, but notice that in spite of any injury also the quality of the headline remains good. In spite of that, this is the other hand that we have. I saw this hand a few years back, but as we have to admit that we can't tell everything, uh, and even palmistry can't tell everything just by looking at, like, some major things also we miss out majorly on a person's hand. In this particular hand, the headline appears to be more straight in the earlier portion, and there's a dip, means the person becomes more imaginative, more visualizer after the age of 35, and a little bit more impractical. Although this curve is not a deep curve towards the amount of moons, it's a very slight curve. So slight curve is okay, which is not too bad. This hand we have already read. Let's move on to the other hand. When we look at this hand towards the end, the headline is moving a little bit upward. Upward movement of the headline is considered to be good. It means upliftment and success even in the last portion of their life as well. So a positive indication. In this particular hand, there's a problem, major problem that you see out here around the age of 30 till the age of 37, 38, when the lines are unclear. When the headline is unclear somewhere out here, We can also say problems related to stomach. Stomach affects the mind or mind affects the stomach or vice versa. These problems can arise due to problem on the headline. Lit, and there are few backward lines also, anger issues. So those are the issues that are going to be there majorly in his life, and a major personality change is likely to happen because there's a major shift in the line of head. The headline comes and ends out here, then there's a new line that progresses, and these are also few breaks that are there. So major changes are happening. Normally what happens, as you have already seen, people have got a very predictable kind of a headline. A predictable headline is something that is starting from one edge, and like this is a very predictable kind of headline. Even if it droops downwards, there's nothing wrong with it. Even if it droops downward, people, it just makes a person more imaginative. So if a person is into artistry, like if a person is doing something related to art or music, or in his work, if he's incorporating imagination. If you see the hand of famous football player Pele, he had a long a headline drooping downwards, something like this. So I would say he brought artistry into football. It makes a person very romantic as well. So I think he had 2 or 3 marriages. So it makes a person very romantic as well. So these are the things that can be said. And this headline is a very stable headline, a very predictable headline. So this, I would say, is a beautiful sign to have when you have predictable headline. Now notice that the quality of the headline before the age of 35 is not so good. Even after the age of 35, there are few problem lines that come and touch the headline. So not the perfect lines to have, not the perfect headline to have. Otherwise, what's going to happen is constantly there are going to be mental worries and mental problems that the person is going to face. This is the hand of that same person who had a stable line. Even in this hand, the person has got a stable headline. So perfect combination and perfect heart line. So very predictable, easy to go by person, and such people do rise up to high position because people love them, people associate with them. Now this hand has a few negatives. There's an island on the headline before the age of 35, negative. Around the age of 30, upward lines. So these are success lines that can be seen. Even this line towards the end can also be seen as a success line. Upward moving lines from the headline pointing towards the fingers is good. If there was a downward leaning line, then we say mental disappointment and problems in your work as well or your relationship as well. So branching out of the headline, I've already mentioned the person could be a genius. They can see two sides of the coin at the same time. This hand has got an excellent, super excellent Jupiter line, which is very rare to find joining into the headline or the lifeline. It's a beautiful indication for success, guaranteed success. The person could be very spiritual as well, religious as well, and the person knows systems. Systems means government. In government there are systems, so the person knows how things work. So such people can be extremely successful in the work that they are doing. And just by looking at this headline and this branch from the Jupiter joining into the headline, we can straight away say success and high position, a respectable position of an honorable position that the person is going to have in their life. This hand also appears to be a little bit different because the headline is all okay, but this is a major line of heart that comes and touches the headline around the age of 35. So what's going to happen is that there could be some misplaced affections. Heart line touching the headline, drooping downwards is considered to be negative. It means misplaced affections, being affectionate to somebody who is not worth your affection, giving your time, effort, energy to people who are not worth it. So a negative sign to have such an indication. There's a clear-cut upward branch on the headline moving upward towards the area of Mercury. Books basically mention that this could be seen as a writer's folk. Writer's folk mean a person could be author. I normally say yes, the person can be author, but at the same time, it could also mean some other things as well, something like success, mental upliftment. And mental upliftment comes when things are happening according to your wishes. So this line is moving upward around the age of 35, and these few lines that are coming and joining into the main headline, this is before the age of 35, so there would be some problems, major problems that the person is going to face before the age of 35. So good and bad aspects can be seen on the same line. When the head and the lifeline are joined together at the initial start, the tendency is that these people lose opportunities in the earlier portion because they are extremely cautious, shy. That is the reason why they lose opportunities. But normally, I say, even if you have these indications, it doesn't mean that you are going to be a failure. It just means that success is going to be a little bit late, but sure shot success as you grow older in your life. This hand appears to be good where the headline is very simple kinds. It means it doesn't mean that everything is going to be perfect. It means when the line of head is perfect, it means that even if the person faces major problems in their life, super major problems on a daily basis, yet their mind is very strong and they would still come out to be stronger. So this kind of hands is a perfect indication for success. People who have such kind of lines automatically come out as more successful compared to the other people, and they're much more consistent, they're much more predictable. So being predictability does pay off. Unpredictability is purely negative. Now notice on this particular hand, the quality of the headline is not so good. There are small branches leaning downwards. The headline is also not so clear out here. So constant mental worries and problems, stomach related issues, mental problems, mental depression, these are the things that are likely to affect such a person. So the person needs to be very careful and should not associate with people who would give depressive tendencies. And even if there are some mental disappointment, take it with a pinch of salt and move ahead in your life. You can't keep on dwelling upon problems and making yourself miserable. This is the right hand. Even on the right hand, notice that there is an island-like formation. One or two island-like formations are there under the finger of Saturn. So these automatically means depression. Even the heart line has got these island-like formations. So emotional turmoil is going to be there. So both head and the heart are affected. So problems are going to be multiple and constant throughout one's life. Now this hand appears to be more of a Samian line kind of a line, one line that runs from the one end to the other. I've already explained the meaning, but out here there's a little bit headline also that appears after the age of 32, 35. So I wouldn't say if there was only one line, then we would have said purely Samian line. A Samian line makes a person's personality very different from others. So probably this may be the a similar line that is more heart oriented. So this makes a person very emotional, but not totally emotional because there is a small headline as well. So some headlines, some similar lines are perfect similar lines. Uh, some people may have mixed kind of lines. So in this we have got a mixed kind of a line. A small headline also is there. So it gives mixed kind of result. We can't associate these lines purely for success or failure. It just means that these people's personality is going to be different from others. And these people would be very difficult to understand. And they may take, they may be extremely bitter enemies or extremely good friends. They may go into extremes. So in that way, it may not be the best sign to have. Now this hand, let's just rotate it. This hand, notice that probably it has got two headlines out here. So this is the headline that starts, and there's another headline that is there. So when there are two headlines, that the person may have two strong personalities within that particular same person, and the other person, people who are close by to such a person, would not be able to understand such people very easily, and such people may have that anger issues as well, because a strong mind would bring lots of anger issues as well. So those are the problems that people around such a person would face constantly. Let's rotate the image so that you see it much more clearly. Nothing much to say about this particular hand. We have already spoken. One or two lines I just had out here. Although the headline is reasonably okay, but one or two lines are moving backwards. So anger issues before the age of 35, a few years that are going to be there, that's going to affect that particular person. And it can affect in terms of relationships, because there is a break on the heart line as well. So when there's a break on the heart line, it affects your personal life. So those are the issues that may, because break on the heart line could also mean a divorce or those kind of issues that can also crop up. So if you reduce the anger, so probably those divorce may not happen. Let's take another hand image that we have out here. And in this hand image, slight change in the headline. There's a few downward lines before the age of 35, mental disappointment. Then there appears to be two headlines, something like this. So this is a much better sign. This may be kind of a branch, and branching headline means the person can see two sides of the coin at the same time. The person is a genius, and the person chances for success increases when they have such kind of a line formation. Now this hand is also quite a predictable kind of a hand. Good Jupiter line, simple straightforward headline. So uh, these are perfect kind of lines, I would say, that a person should have. Notice towards the end on the headline is a little bit wavering kind. So weakness in the mind comes after, when in the later portion of the life, after the age of 60 or so. This is just a rough estimate. So stable headlines towards the end is considered to be good. Weaker headlines bring weakness to the mind. This particular hand, there appears to be two headlines. Two headlines does give strong mental strength, but at the same time, it creates problems as well, because such people are very difficult people to live with. This also, just notice how these are two headlines out here. So two headline people may be extremely aggressive, and they would not accept no as an answer, and a personality where they show two different personalities within themselves. So you don't know which personality comes out and when in front of you. So you would be shocked in that way when you try to associate with such people. Notice in this particular hand how long both the head and the lifeline are joined together. This makes a person very submissive, and these people are under the influence of their guardians for a very long duration of time. They can't come out of their cocoon, and they basically remain in that cocoon for a very long time. It doesn't mean that these people cannot be successful. It just means that these people are going to be more successful towards the end of their life instead of the earlier portion of your life. Towards the end means towards the later portion of your life, not towards the end, towards the later portion of your life. Notice in this particular hand, both lines are joined together and there's a slight wave-like formation, but still, because these are kind of pointing towards the upward portion of the palm, towards the amount of mercury. This is the amount of mercury. That is the reason why these people are going to be successful, very, very successful in whatever they do. And they may be into more into technology or some kind of skill. They are going to be extremely good at what they are doing. This hand also appears to be a quite a rare kind of a formation. You notice that the first line is starting, and then around the age of 35 it tilts upwards. Tilting upward is good, and the new line kind of points towards the area of Jupiter. So although there's a major changeover that is happening, but both these lines can be seen as a good sign, because upward moving lines towards finger is good, and the new line that originates pointing towards the area of Jupiter is also considered to be good. So the line that moves upward means more success, and the line that points from the Jupiter area means more position that the person is going to get around the age of 35 or so. I just add one last thing before I end the video. Notice out here that there's a break on the headline. Break on the headline is generally considered to be negative. It means, and specifically under the amount of Saturn, it means the chances for mental breakdown are there. But because the line restarts in a good way, that is the reason why we say that chances are the person is going to come back on track, and that is the reason why it is considered to be a good sign to have, even in spite of having a break. If you have lines that are good after the break, things are all okay. But if the quality of the line deteriorates, then things can go bad. If there's a wave-like formation, there's island-like formation, the lines are not clear, that's when things can go really bad. I would end the video out here. So it was a long video of almost 1 hour describing different kind of lines that a person can have. Try to associate your headline to almost anything and everything of your life. It's not, don't think the headline is only the line for your thought process. It shows success when the line is stable. When the line is weak, unclear, it shows uh, the portion of life when you are unclear as to what you want to do, and there's mental instability that is going to be there. A stable line means stability in your mind and success. Thanks for watching this video. Bye and take care.